What are we up to over here? I think 14, right? Let's see, what do we get up to? Where are we? Okay. Alright. What do we get up to over here? And where does this go until? I could try to do that. That's not bad. Alright, not a bad idea. Yeah, why don't I do that? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, where are we? How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yudalet, Daf 14 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends. Yo, friends, let's go weiter. Alright, we're going to start on Daf Yudalet Amud Aleph, I don't know, about somewhere between 5 and 10 lines probably into the page. Omar Shmuel, yeah? Wow, I feel like I'm so tired. How many coffees did I have already today? I don't know, maybe 3. But I'm like just really tired. Probably because I haven't been sleeping much. Alright, what can you do? Alright, Omar Shmuel, says Shmuel, my time in the Rabbanon, Wow, clever, I feel like that's part of my intro now. Part of my ever-expanding intro. How you doing there? Today we're studying whatever, complain for a few minutes, read the first few words of the daf, sing a little song while I get my brain into gear, and then we start. I'll tell you, okay, let's go weiter. Omar Shmuel, my time to Rabbanon. No, but seriously, what? Right, there's that too. Because there's so much, I gotta figure out what he's talking about again. Really, I reviewed this stuff yesterday. I was supposed to record this yesterday, but then I got caught up in work and I went to sleep, whatever. So now I gotta record 3 pages today. What can you do? Alright, so anyway, so there are Rabbanan had said, Gewaldig. So the Rabbanan had said that even by a shtar, she'ein bo achrayis nechosim, even by a document that doesn't say anything about nechosim mishubadim, that if you don't pay back, then you'll collect from my property, right? Even a document that doesn't mention anything about shibud nechosim, still it's implied, right? It's if it's not there, then it's pashut a mistake. Wait, what am I doing? Am I going to make a mistake here? There you go. Did I just ruin the microphone? I really hope not. I don't think I did. Probably just got scratchy. Let's go weiter. So even if the document does not say anything about achrayis nechosim, I use shibud nechosim and achrayis nechosim interchangeably. I hope that both of them are usable. I think they are. Nechosim mishubadim, right? So if it doesn't mention anything about shibud nechosim, it's a mistake, and you can assume that they're shibud nechosim. Meaning, if Shimon's lending $1,000 to Ruvain, obviously he's not gonna, just throw his money into, a highly risky scenario. So of course he's gonna want to have some kind of guarantee of property. Now, what if he doesn't write into the document? It's assumed it's a mistake, and you can still collect from nechosim mishubadim. Okay, so. Mashmuel says, Shmuel, my time to Rabbanan. What's pshat with the rabbis? Savre, right? Meaning, so why do they say that even a document that does not, right? Even a shtar she'ein bo achrayis nechosim, how come you could then still collect from nechosim mishubadim? Because achrayis tohu soferhu. Any document that does not say anything about achrayis nechosim is a mistake. But really, even though it's not written in it, you can still collect from nechosim mishubadim. So it's the article is Rav bar Itay. Who's ever heard the name Itay? I'm just going to say Itai because I've heard the name Itai. So why not go with that? Rav bar Itay. I don't know what to do. The article says Itay, so I feel like by saying Itai I'm wrong, which I guess I probably am. But who's ever heard of Itay? Anybody know anybody named Itay? Is your name Itay? Maybe. Omli Rav bar Itay. What do I do? Omli Rav bar Itay l'Rav Idi bar Oven. So Rav bar Itay says to Rav Idi bar Oven, Umi Omar Shmuel Hachi. Does Shmuel really say this? that achrayis to sofer. Shmuel says shvach shvar v'shibud tzarich limolech uwa gewaldig 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 gewaldig. Shmuel says that when it comes to, so if you're okay, so okay, in a second we're going to give the distinction about what's what. Okay, a second ago we just said that Shmuel explains that the opinion of the rabbis is that even a shtar she'ein bo achrayis nechasim, you could still collect from nechasim mishubadim. How come? Because it's a mistake. 1 second, but there is this other scenario where I'll just forget about the distinction that we're going to make in a minute. We haven't gotten there yet, so let's just say the following. Shimon lends $1,000 to Ruvain, and so Ruvain is writing a document that says that I, Ruvain, owe Shimon $1,000. Okay, fine. Now, Ruvain is not writing that document himself. He's hiring a lawyer to do it for him. So the lawyer needs to, or the scribe, I assume for all intents and purposes, the scribe is basically, a lawyer would write, the scribe is the one writing the document, which I imagine in most cases practically is probably like a lawyer. So the lawyer says consults with Reuven. He says, hey Reuven, what kind of responsibility are you willing to take? Hey, if say you don't pay back Shimon, are you going to put a lien on your property? So that's the shibud. And say you do put a lien on your property. Are we talking about your idis? Are we talking about your beinonis? What are we talking about? So that would be shvar. And what about shvach, right? Are you only being mechayev the karke at its current value? What if it increases in value? Are you going to commit that as well? So basically, all of these options for the document are negotiable. Reuven can say say the three no's. No shibud, no shvach, no shvar. So it's all up to Reuven. So what do you mean that if there's no shibud nechasim, then it's a mistake? Meaning, Shmuel explains that according to the rabbis, some we passing like the rabbis. Shmuel explains that according to the rabbis, achrayus tohu sofer, that if a document that doesn't have achrayus nechasim, it's a mistake. But at the same time, Shmuel also says that it's totally up to Reuven to decide what he wants to commit to, and he can choose no achrayus nechasim, which means it's completely up to him, and therefore a document that does not have achrayus nechasim, there is no achrayus nechasim. So why are we saying it's a mistake? It was a calculated decision. So again, the Shmuel really say achrayus tohu sofer v'amar Shmuel, but Shmuel says shvach shvar v'shibud. Let's start really from the end. So shibud nechasim, right? For Reuven to indicate that he wants to be mishabed his nechasim to the document, to the deal. Shvar, if he wants to, does he want to commit his edis, his best fields, his middle fields? What does he want? Shvach, is it only the value of the field at its current value, or maybe if it increases in value? 1 second, let me just check something. No? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Fine. So shall we say that there are two sort of Amoras who are quoting Shmuel? You have two different Amoras quoting Shmuel, and they quote, one of them is saying that Shmuel says this, the other one is saying that Shmuel says that. One of them is saying that Shmuel says that achrayus tohu sofer, the other one is saying that Shmuel says that you can choose. Lo kasha kan b'shtar halvoya de lo yohiv inish zuze bichdi kan b'mekach umimkar de ovid inish de zovin ara liyomei. So actually we answer that there is a distinction between whether it's a loan document or whether it's a document documenting a sale. Okay? When it comes to a loan, we would say achrayus tohu sofer. If Shimon lends $1,000 to Reuven, okay, and they're writing up a document so that Shimon will be able to recoup his money, in the future, and if Reuven defaults, Shimon will be able to collect from his property. If the document does not say anything about a guarantee, about achrayis nechasim, it's a mistake, because Shimon is not going to simply throw his money into the unknown. Shimon is not simply going to give $1,000 to Reuven without any kind of guarantee. It's just too risky. So therefore, of course, Shimon is going to want to have that guarantee, and the document must have that guarantee, and if it doesn't, then it's a mistake. However, say Shimon was buying a house from Reuven. Yeah, is that right? Shimon is buying, yeah, that's right. So Shimon, that's right. Reuven is selling his house to Shimon, so Shimon is buying a house from Reuven. Now Reuven is going to write up a document that he's going to give to Shimon that says, I, Reuven, am giving my house to you, Shimon. And now Shimon has this document. So now what happens if Levi comes and says to Shimon, oh, by the way, Shimon, you can't, no, you can't. That house isn't yours, it's mine. Reuven owes me money, whatever it is. So in that case, it depends. We look at the document and we say, well, what did Reuven commit to? Did Reuven include achrayis nechasim in the document that he gave to Shimon? Did Reuven agree that if Levi comes and takes the house away from Shimon, that Shimon can come back to Reuven, and Reuven would say, okay, fine, you can take it from my nechasim mishubadim? What did Reuven commit to? And in this case, it's unlike a loan where we say Shimon won't just throw his money into an unknown situation, won't risk his money in an unknown situation. We do not say that when it comes to property, because we assume that it could be that Shimon would be willing to risk the property, even if he only ends up having the property for one day. It could still be worth it. Who knows? Maybe he's getting a great deal from Reuven, whatever. Maybe like Reuven's giving him a great deal, but he says, look, I'll give you a great deal, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. And for whatever reason, it's worth it for Shimon to have the real estate, even if it's just for a day, whatever it might be. So in that case, when it comes to Mekach u'Mimkar, so then when Reuven is drafting the document, the sale document that he's going to give to Shimon, and he's got his lawyers there, and the lawyer says to Reuven, what do you want to commit to? Do you want to commit to shibud? Do you want to commit to shibud, shvach, shvar? What do you want to commit to? Reuven can pick and choose whatever he wants, and he can say, I don't want to commit to anything, and then he doesn't have to commit to anything. So there is a difference when it comes to a loan versus when it comes to Mekach u'Mimkar. When it comes to a loan, achrayus ta'u sofer, when it comes to Mekach u'Mimkar, it is up to Reuven to decide what he wants to commit himself to. So let's read that again. Lo kashes, no problem, kam b'shtar avoya. When it comes to a loan that Shimon is lending $1,000 to Reuven, so then achrayus ta'u sofer, because because Shimon is going to be unwilling to give a loan to Reuven without any sort of guarantee that he's going to get his money back. So that would be a mistake if it doesn't have achrayis nechasim in there. However, if Shimon is purchasing a house from Reuven and the document doesn't say anything about achrayis nechasim, so then there is no achrayis nechasim, because the ovid inish is of an ar liyomeh, because it could happen that Shimon would be willing, even without any kind of guarantee, to be the owner of this property, even if it's only for a day. He doesn't know how long it's going to be, but he figures, let me take this property. I know Reuven is not guaranteeing it, but it's worth, I'm willing to take this risk. I'll have this property. Hopefully nothing will happen. If something happens, it's fine. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Maybe it was a good deal or whatever it might be. Like Avu Bar Ihi Zovin Alisa Me'achte, he purchased a loft from his sister. Also Balchov Tarfa Mine, and sure enough, his sister's creditor came and took the loft away from Avu Bar Idi. Also the Kamid Shmuel, so Avu Bar Idi comes to Shmuel, assuming that Shmuel is going to say that his sister needs to give him a different property, because even if the document did not have anything about achrayus nechasim, which it did not, still Shmuel says achrayus to sofer, right? So Amar lei kosavta licha achrayus. So Shmuel says to Avua bar Idi, he says, did your sister include in her document that she would guarantee the loft, that if anybody comes and takes it away from you, she would give you other property? Amar lei lo. Avua bar Idi says nisht, she didn't guarantee it. Amar lei im kein zil lishlama. So Shmuel says, if so, have a nice day. I can't help you. So Amar lei v'amaru do amar achrayus to soferhu. To which Avua bar Idi says, what do you mean, Shmuel? I came to you because you're the one who says achrayus to sofer, that even if a document does not have achrayus, it's a mistake. There still is achrayus. Amar lei, Shmuel says, hanimile b'shtori alvoyo. No, sorry, brother. That is by a loan of a b'shtori mekachu mimkar lo, but not by mekachu mimkar, not by buying and selling. The ovid inish the zovan ari liyome, because there could be scenarios where a person would be willing to own a property even if it is just for a day. Omar Abaye says, Abaye, now this is a Gemara that we've seen in Bavekame, in Ksubis. Omar Abaye, Ruven shemachar sode l'Shimon. Ruven sold a field to Shimon. Okay, Ruven sold a field to Shimon. And he sold it be'achrayis. Does it say be'achrayis? Yeah, it says be'achrayis. Ruven sold the field to Shimon. He says, hey, Shimon, if anybody comes and takes the field away from you, you come back to me. And I will take care of you. Nechasim shubadim zeh. Uva balchav deruvin v'kotarif le'minei. And sure enough, Levi comes to Shimon, says, Shimon, I'm taking your field away from you. Reuven owes me money. Dinahu the azal Reuven u'mishtari dina b'aydei. So it's entirely within Reuven's rights that he could show up on the scene and start screaming and yelling and arguing with Levi and saying, what are you talking about, you nudnik, get out of here, you don't have no claim, I paid you back, whatever it might be. And Levi cannot say to Reuven, he cannot say to Reuven, get lost, I'm talking to Shimon. Because Reuven's going to say to Levi, Reuven says, you can't talk to me like that. You can't tell me to get lost, because what do you think is going to happen after you take this property away from Shimon? He's coming right back to me because I guaranteed it. So of course this affects me. And I'm going to scream and yell. He could dive into those who say, and then those who say that actually even if Reuven sold the field to Shimon without achrayus, still Reuven can scream and yell at Levi. Because still, even though Reuven says, I know I didn't guarantee anything to Shimon, and Levi, if you take the field away, Shimon's in trouble, because he can't come back to me, but he'll be upset with me. I don't want him to be upset with me. I don't want that somebody should be upset with me. So therefore, says Reuven, I'm going to scream and yell at you, Levi, because I don't want Shimon to be upset with me. Abaye says, Reuven shemachar soda l'Shimon shelo b'achrayis. Okay. Reuven sold a field to Shimon with no guarantee, with no achrayus, that if Levi comes and takes it away from Shimon, Reuven's not guaranteeing anything. V'yotzo aleh asikin, sure enough, Levi comes and he says, Shimon, that's my field. I'm taking it away from you. Ad shelo huchzak. So if Shimon had not yet made a chazaka, which we'll explain in a second, of course has come up in the past, if Shimon has not yet made a kinyan chazaka on the field, yachol lachzar bo. So just in time, right? Levi comes, says to Shimon, hey Shimon, what are you doing here? This field is mine. As long as Shimon hasn't yet made a kinyan chazaka, nor of course a kinyan kesef or a kinyan shtar, right? Because karka, of course, is niknes bekesef b'shtar uv chazaka. So he hasn't made any kind of kinyan on it. So Shimon goes right back to Reuven. He says, Reuven, I don't want to touch this. Yacholav zabo, Shimon can be chosen and say, I do not want to continue with this sale. But if Shimon already made a kinyan chazaka, then it's his. Well, then he can no longer be choser. He can no longer go back to Reuven and say, Reuven, I changed my mind. He already owns it. He already made a chazaka. Because Reuven will say to Shimon, sorry, Shimon, you knew what you were getting yourself into, right? There was no secrets. You bought this field without achrayis. I didn't make any secret about the fact that you're buying shelo b'achrayis. Don't come to me. I'm not giving anything. You took a gamble. You knowingly bought a sack full of knots. Kilu. This was your choice. You knew what you were getting yourself into. You made a calculated risk. Don't come back to me. I didn't commit to anything. I'm not giving you anything. And at what point would it be considered a chazaka? So it would be considered a chazaka when he supports the fence or something. He does something to show that he's the Baal Habayis, right? So if there's a fence and Rashi says he even kind of walks around the fence and kind of stomps down the ground, which kind of shores up the strength of the fence. But he does something to show that he's the owner now. I think maybe he could put up a lock or something. We're going to learn this in BavaMetzia. So now the interesting thing about this, is that, so as I said a minute ago, and as we've learned in Masechta Kiddushin and other places, karka, property, is niknes bekesef b'shtar v'chazaka, with money. Okay, so obviously we're familiar with kind of money. You give money, and now you own it. Now the interesting thing is that also with a document or with a chazaka. So we're talking about a chazaka now. So how does it work? Reuven's selling his field to Shimon. Shimon kind of walks around the fence, and now he owns it. What about the money? Right? Isn't Reuven? Reuven's selling. You sell for money. You don't sell for walking around the field. So it's interesting. So be'etzem, it's shayach over here. So be'etzem, the way it works, the chazaka is just sort of the mechanism of the kinyan, right? So if Reuven sells his field to Shimon for $1 million, okay? And then Shimon is koneh bechazaka. He walks around the field, whatever, he strengthens the fence, and now it belongs to Shimon. Shimon still owes Reuven, of course, $1 million. It's a loan. It's like Reuven loaned now Shimon $1 million. He has to pay back. It's a loan that he has to pay back. Okay? So the point being, so the interesting thing here is that once Shimon does this chazaka, it belongs to Shimon, which means that when Levi comes and says, no, whatever, Reuven stole it from us, or Reuven owes us money, whatever, well, no, probably not stole it, because that's a different thing, because then it never belonged to Reuven, but Reuven owes us money, we're taking it away from you. So when Shimon made the chazaka on the field, it belongs to Shimon, which means that he can no longer renege on the sale, right? He bought it from Reuven, right? He made a kinyan from Reuven. Reuven had never committed to any kind of achrayis nechasim. He didn't guarantee anything. So he made a purchase through his chazaka from Reuven. I don't know if I just said Shimon, but Shimon made a chazaka on the field. So he purchased it from Reuven. It's Shimon's now. Levi now comes and takes it away from Shimon. Reuven didn't guarantee anything, so Reuven's off the hook. Now, Shimon had committed to paying $1 million to Reuven for this field. He already made the chazak; it's already his. Now Reuven be'etzem loaned him now $1 million. He has to pay back this $1 million loan, even though Levi already took away the field from him. So basically, Shimon made a chazak on the field. It's now his. Reuven didn't guarantee anything. Levi now took away the field because Reuven owed Levi money. And Shimon still owes Reuven $1 million for this field that he purchased from him without any achrayis. I hope I haven't been saying a chazak and achrayis interchangeably. That Shimon purchased from this field without any achrayis. Levi now took it from him. He's got nothing but $1 million loan that he owes Reuven. Wow. And now says the Gemara, Vikadami, those who say, Afilu ba'achrayis nami. Even if Reuven would have sold the field to Shimon be'achrayis, and he would have guaranteed it. He says, Shimon, look, if anybody comes and takes the field away from me, you come back to me, and I'll give you other fields. I'll guarantee it. Afilu b'achrayis nami. Even then, Reuven still says, Shimon, look, you still owe me $1 million. Innocent until proven guilty. Let's go to court. The court will rule that that I need to guarantee the property to you. And when the court rules that, they will issue a document. They will issue you, Shimon, a document that says that you could seize my property. Show me that document, and I'll give you my property. But innocent till proven guilty, right? Levi comes and takes the field away from Shimon. Okay, Shimon says to Reuven, you guaranteed the field. Reuven says, hold up, slowly, 1 second, innocent till proven guilty. Take me to court. If I'm really guilty, the court will give you a document. At that point, I'll give you other property. Until then, I'm innocent and you have to pay me $1 million. Wow. What an interesting scenario. This is gewaldige stuff. This is mamish gewaldige stuff. Mamish gewaldige stuff. I think we're going to do till halfway through Tezvav. This is really gewaldige stuff. Thing is, as I said before, my brain isn't fully on. Also, I got a different coffee now. I went to the coffee shop yesterday, but they didn't have the coffee I usually get. So I think when I get the coffee I don't usually get, it kind of messes with my brain's like not used to it, Akoponim. So we're going to go weiter. So now, this is the best. This is absolutely the best. BavaMetzia is amazing. BavaMetzia is amazing. Blows your mind, the shtickle. Am I the only person whose brain is like next level right now? Probably not. Oh, you feeling it too? Like, it just does something to your brain. Maybe I said this already, but like maybe that's why they teach it to like the little kids. So just like to get that brain like supercharged. The thing is, the little kids don't get it. Although I'll tell you, Epis, I have a cousin. I have a first cousin, and they live here in Yerushalayim, in Sanhedria. Those kids are not even bar mitzvahed yet. They're learning BavaMetzia, right? They're learning BavaMetzia. This kid Avram, he's I don't know, what's he? 11 years old. I think he chaps. He was learning Elu Metzias last year, which we're going to start learning in a few days. And now he's learning Hamafkid, which we're going to learn after that. I think he chaps. I think he gets it. He learns with his father. He learns it in the cheder and yeshiva. This stuff it whips your brain into shape. This is much more intense than like computer programming stuff. This stuff really teaches you how to think. And then you could apply it to like whatever you want. It's amazing. It's like a secret weapon. Like supercharges your brain. But me babbling about supercharging brains doesn't supercharge brains. Learning this next sugi in the Gemara is going to supercharge your brain. We're going to change the names now, shtickle. Here's the Metzias. It's just so geschmack. I'm sorry. It's hard to go weiter when. Okay, let's go weiter. Reuven steals a field from Shimon and then sells it to Levi. So that's going to be the operating Metzias over here, okay? Reuven steals a field from Shimon and sells it to Levi. That's the Ukimta, okay? So now, Itmar, it was stated, Hamocher Sode la Chavero. So Reuven steals a field from Shimon. I know the Gemara didn't say that, but I'm telling you that. Reuven steals a field from Shimon, and now Hamocher Sode la Chavero, he sells the field, right? So Reuven's basically a thief, and he sells the field to Levi. V'nimtzeis she'eno shelo, and of course it doesn't belong to Reuven. Reuven's a thief. Rav Omer yesh lo mos v'yesh lo shvach. Ushmuel Omer maos yesh lo shvach ein lo. Wow. Gewaldig. This is so geschmack. Okay? So Reuven stole a field from Shimon and he sold it to Levi. Okay, gewaldig. So Levi doesn't know about any of this. So Levi buys the field from Reuven and he gets to work. He bought the field for $1,000 and he gets to work. And because of his investment in the field and his hard work, the field is now worth $1,200. Shimon, the victim of the theft, of Reuven's theft, comes to Levi and he says, Levi, I'm sorry, but that's my field, and he takes it away from Levi. So he purchased the field that was worth $1,000, but what was taken away from him was a field worth $1,200. Rav says that Levi can now go back to Reuven, I guess assuming that it was regardless of a chayes. I mean, Reuven's a thief, right? Regardless of a chayes, Reuven's a thief. No, he's a thief. There's no documents over here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, the field didn't belong to Reuven, so it's not an actual sale, right? So Rav says that Reuven needs to pay back Shimon, not just the $1,000. No, Reuven needs to pay back Levi. Shimon already got paid back because he took his field back. Right, Shimon went to Levi and took his field back. Levi, though, who paid $1,000 to Reuven for the field, according to Rav, Levi can collect from Reuven not just the $1,000 that he paid Reuven for the field, but also the additional $200 of value that was taken away from him by Shimon. So again, Idmar was stated, Reuven stole a field from Shimon, sold it to Levi. Shimon takes the field away from Levi. Levi had paid $1,000 for the field, but now it's worth $1,200. Rav Omar, obviously those numbers I'm making up. Rav Omar, yesh lo moz v'yesh lo shvach. Rav says that Levi can claim not only the $1,000 that he paid for the field, but oichet, the $200 in the increase of value to the field. Shmuel Omar says, Shmuel moz yesh lo shvach edno. Where Shmuel says, look, Levi can claim from Reuven the $1,000 that he paid for it. He cannot claim the outstanding $200 of value that he was forced to relinquish to Shimon. But they asked Rav Huna, Peresh lo es hashvach mahu. What if, however, when Reuven, quote unquote, sold the field to Levi, though he can't technically sell it because it didn't belong to him because he had stolen it, but when Reuven had sold the field to Levi, what if he had told Levi that if anything happens, I will not only give you your $1,000 back, I will also pay you back whatever other added value, increase in value to the field. Meaning, so in this case, where he worked the field and now the field is worth $1,200, I will give you a full $1,200, not just $1,000. So then, what's the halacha according to Shmuel, who said that Reuven only needs to pay Levi the principal amount, but not the shvach, not the increased value? What would Shmuel say, however, if Reuven milichatchila told him, I will not only give you the principal, but oichet the shvach? Do we say taima de Shmuel mishum de lo peresh shvach v'acha peresh lo? Do we say the reason why Shmuel says that Reuven is only responsible for the principal, but not for the increased value? Do we say that is simply because Reuven didn't commit to the shvach, and therefore, since Reuven did not commit to the shvach, he doesn't need to pay the shvach? But in this case, if he did commit to the shvach, he does have to pay the shvach. O Dilma, or perhaps Taimei de Shmuel kevan de leis le karke merze kiribis. Or is Shmuel's reasoning that, well, since Reuven doesn't actually own the land and he's not actually selling the land to Shimon, to Levi, since Reuven doesn't actually own the land, he's not actually selling the land to Levi, he's basically giving Levi property in exchange for money, but it's not an actual sale. So is Shmuel's concern that since it's not an actual sale, technically you can say what's happening is Levi is giving Reuven $1,000 and getting back $1,200. It looks kind of like interest, right? So does Shmuel say the reason why Levi can only claim the $1,000 but not the full $1,200, is it because since it's not actually a sale, basically you could say what's happening is that Levi is giving $1,000 to Reuven and getting back $1,200, which looks like it could be interest. In which case, even if Reuven had said to Levi, look, if anything happens, I'll give you the shvach as well, he cannot give him the shvach because it looks like interest. Omar Le. Wait, so I guess Omar Lehu maybe, right? Because they had asked Rav Huna. Omar Lehu, he said to them, in Vilav Raf Biyada, he wasn't clear. He said, yes, no, he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure what the answer is. Itmar was stated, Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Shmuel, Ma'us Yesh Lo, Shvach Ein Lo. Says Rav Nachman in the name of Shmuel, that even in this scenario, Levi can collect $1,000 from Ruvain. He cannot collect the additional $200. Afal Pisha Perish Lo Es Hashvach. Even though Ruvain had told Levi that he would guarantee the Shvach, no, Levi cannot collect the Shvach. My time, how come? Came the Karke Ein Lo, since Ruvain didn't own the field that he quote unquote sold to Levi. Schaima Osav Omed Venotel. It seems like Levi is basically taking interest essentially on his money, that he had given $1,000 to Ruvain and he's retrieving $1,200. It looks like he's basically collecting interest on his money, and therefore that would not be allowed, even if Ruvain had guaranteed the shvach. Eisve Rove Rav Nachman. Rove asked a kasha to Rav Nachman, because Rav Nachman had said that in this scenario where Ruvain stole a field from Shimon and sold it to Levi, Levi cannot claim the shvach because it's like interest. Eisve Rove Rav Nachman in Motzin. This is gewaldige stuff. Very, very gewaldig. It takes a lot of energy, but it's very gewaldig. Eisve Rove Rav Nachman. Rav asked a kasha to Rav Nachman. Ein Motzin achilas peres v'leshvach karkos. Okay, we can't be motzi for the eating of the fruits and for the shvach of the karka, the increase in value for the karka. We're going to have to explain what we're talking about over here. Or, right, the fellow gets married and in his ksuba he says that he's going to, even after he dies, his wife and his daughters will be able to be sustained from his estate until they get married or remarried. So, minachas mishubadim, we do not pay that from minachas mishubadim, mipnei tikuna olam, because tikuna olam, right? If you remember, I think from Ksubis, maybe Gittin even, I don't know, where's this from? Gittin. Ta-da! That was awesome. You see what just happened? We were Ksubis sugya, and I remember it was in Gittin. Why did I? Because of the tikuna olam. Right, Gittin, there was all that tikkun olam stuff. So, because the concern was that well, everyone's got a wife and kids, and well, not everybody, but anyways, lots of people have a wife and kids, and therefore, if like everybody's wife and kids can just like claim, go to like if you sell a field to somebody, and then like the wife and kids show up, like after the guy dies, he's like, well. We need our food, like nobody's ever going to be able to like buy stuff properly. Okay, anyways, so we're saying that achilas peres, and more importantly right now, shvach karkaos, cannot be collected from nechasim mishubadim. Mi mishabdehu telo mafkinon, homi bnei chorin mafkinon. Okay, so shvach karkaos cannot be claimed from nechasim mishubadim, but they can be claimed from nechasim bnei chorin. Now the shaila is, what's the scenario? What's the shvach karkos that we're talking about? So there's two possibilities. One possibility, of course, is the scenario that we're talking about. Ruvain steals a field from Shimon, sells it to Levi. Shimon then comes and takes the field back from Levi because it's his field. Levi now comes to Ruvain and says, "Hey, I want my money back." And so theoretically we could be saying that in this case, the keren, the principal amount, can be collected from nechos mishubadim, but the shvach, the added value, can only be collected from nechosim b'nei chorin. But nonetheless, they can be collected, which would be a kasha on Shmuel. The other possibility is that it's not talking about theft; it's talking about a loan, which is that Shimon lent $1,000 to Ruvain, right? And there's achrayis nechosim. Ruvain then sold property to Levi. Reuven defaulted on the loan. Shimon goes and collects the property from Levi. Levi now wants to get his money back from Reuven, and maybe we're talking about the Shvach Karkos over there, that Levi can collect the principal from Reuven's Nechasim Shubadim and any increased value from Bnei Chorin. So there is a question of what exactly the scenario is. Is it talking about that Reuven stole Reuven stole property from Shimon and sold it to Levi, or is it talking about where Reuven had borrowed money from Shimon and then sold a field to Levi? Now, Shimon collects it from Levi. Okay. But nonetheless, so we don't know yet which scenario we're talking about. Are we talking about Gezela? Are we talking about Balchov, right? A loan? But what we do know is we have a brayso that says when it comes to Shvach Karkos, when it comes to the increase in value to property that can be collected from Reuven, that the Shvach can be collected at least from Nechasim Bnei Chorin. V'katani mia l'Shvach Karkos. So we mentioned, as I just said, in the brayso Shvach Karkos, my love, and what's the scenario? As I just said, right, there's two possibilities that we're going to discuss. It could either be stolen or it could be from a loan. So is it not talking about the scenario of theft, where, meaning our case, Reuven stole a field from Shimon, sold it to Levi, and now Levi wants to collect the Shvach Karkos from Reuven, he can collect from Nechasim Bnei Chorin, therefore it's a kasha on Shmuel? Lo b'Balchov. No. It's talking about a Balchov. Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven. Reuven then sold the field to Levi. Reuven defaulted on the loan. Shimon then went and took Levi's field away from him. Levi now goes back to Reuven to get paid back, and we're saying that he can collect the Shvach Karkos from Nechasim Bnei Chorin. We're talking about a Balchov. It's not talking about our case. But even Balchov Emoresha Emotzin Lachilas Peris. But one second, we cannot say that the brayso is talking about a Balchov. We cannot say that the brayso is talking about a Balchov. We cannot say that it's talking about where Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven. Why can't we say that? Well, because we mentioned Achilas Peris. We mentioned Achilas Peris. What's Achilas Peris? Achilas Peris is that Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven. Reuven then sold his property to Levi. Reuven then defaulted on the loan. Shimon collects the property from Levi. He collects the property, but also the fruit. So Shimon, a Balchov, would not be allowed to collect the fruits. He would not be allowed to collect the fruits. So therefore, this Shvach Peris, Achilas Peris, that Levi is going to come claim from Reuven. Shimon has no business claiming those Peris if Shimon is merely a Baal Chov. One second. Where am I? Achilas Peris, let's go weiter. So, ein motzin Achilas Peris, v'ibe Balchov mi isle peri. That Shimon, if we're talking about where he lent Reuven $1,000, he would be unable to collect from Levi from the fruits. V'amar Shmuel says, Balchov goves shvach in aval Peris lo. That Shimon can only collect from Levi from the Shvach Karkos. He can collect from Levi the property, including its increased value, but not the fruits. Okay? So Elepshita begozel v'nigzel. So then clearly, if we're talking about fruits, we're talking about gozel v'nigzel. We're talking about where Reuven stole the field from Shimon, sold it to Levi. Shimon's now going to Levi to take back his field, and he takes back the entire field. The field, the added value, the fruits, everything. He takes it back from Levi. So therefore, midiresha begozel v'nigzel, seifanav begozel v'nigzel. And if Achilas Peris is talking about where Reuven stole it from Shimon, well then Shvach Karkos is also talking about where Reuven stole it from Shimon, and we're saying that Reuven stole a field from Shimon. Shimon takes it away from Levi, and we're saying that Levi can collect even the Shvach Karkos from Reuven Just the shvach would be from nechosim b'nei chorin, but he can nonetheless collect it. It's a kasha on Shmuel, who says, or at least on Rav Nachman explaining Shmuel, who says that Levi would be unable to collect the shvach from Ruvain in this scenario because it's like ribis. Midi irya kedisa v'kedisa. To which the Gemara says, no, we could say that Achilas Paris is talking about Gozel v'nigzol, and Shvach Karkos is talking about Baal Chov. But by Gozel v'nigzol, by Shvach Karkos, you'd be unable to collect because it's like ribis. V'ha'lo Taniyachi, but we don't teach like this. L'shvach Karkos, or maybe it's like a kind of a question, V'ha'lo Taniyachi, don't we teach L'shvach Karkos Ketzad? Tell me more about the shvach karkos. Tell me more about the increased value of the property. Chevra, I'm getting to the push through the mush. It's interesting. As I've pointed out a million times recently, it used to be that I would get, like, my brain is like, it's reached this point. It's reached the mush point. And it happens that, whenever there's like a really difficult, a very demanding daf, at a certain point my brain turns to mush. And in the past, it would be very difficult for me to go forward because I would, my brain is mush. But now it excites me because now I have an opportunity to push through the mush. It's not as easy as when it's not mushy, but it's in some ways more interesting. So right now I'm pushing through mushing. So Tani Achi, the Shvach Karkos, the thing is, I still have another 2 daf to record today. Oh my gosh. This is how BavaMetzia pushes your brain to the next level. When your brain is mush on the first recording of the day and you still have another 2 and they're not any easier. Ooh. Okay, let's go fighter. Oh, but we don't teach like this. The Shvach Karkos Ketzad. Tell me more about this Shvach Karkos. We wanted to say that Shvach Karkos is talking about Gezela, right? No, we didn't. We want to say that Shvach HaKos is talking about, we want to say Achilas Paris is talking about Gezela, but Shvach HaKos is talking about Baal Chov. But we teach like this. L'shvach karkos kates. Tell me more about the shvach karkos, which we're arguing is by a Baal Chov. Harisha gozal sode mechavero. Reuven stole a field from Shimon. Varei yotza mitachas yodo. This brisa is not going to make any sense, and the Gemara is going to say that in a second. So I'm just going to explain it in the way that doesn't make sense, and then we'll explain it in the way that does make sense after. So Rishagazal Sodom Chavero, Reuven stole a field from Shimon, Varei Yotza Mitachas Yado, and then the field is taken away from Reuven, who stole it from Shimon. Kishu Gove, when he collects from who? Well, that's why it doesn't make sense. Gove Sakered min Chosim Shubadim, he collects the principal amount from the Chosim Shubadim, Vishvach Gove min Chosim Bnei Chorin, and the added value he collects from the Chosim Bnei Chorin, Heichi Dami. What exactly is going on in this brisa? If it's as it's taught that Reuven is stealing from Shimon, and yet when it's taken away from him, he can claim it, that makes absolutely no sense. Gazlan Iman Gobi. Who is Reuven the Gazlan collecting from when his stolen field is taken away from him? Meaning the field that he stole is taken away from him. Elalav Rada. It must be talking about Kigon Shegazal Sodom Chavero. Reuven steals a field from Shimon. And he sells it to Levi, and then Levi works it and it increases in value. And then Shimon, of course, then goes and takes it away from Levi because it's his field. Levi then goes and claims it from Reuven. And we're saying that when he claims it, he can claim not only the keren, not only the principal amount, but also the shvach. The keren he can collect from Nechosim Shvadim, the shvach he collects from Nechosim Bnei Chorin. So we see that even in the case of theft, you can collect, right? Levi can collect the shvach. It's a kasha on Shmuel, or at least Rav Nachman. Amalei lav tarutze ka matratsta tritz nami bebal chov. To which Rav Nachman says, I guess it's Rav Nachman. I think it's Rav Nachman, right? Because Rav has a kasha on Rav Nachman, I think, right? To which Rav Nachman says, so Rav Nachman says, look, Rav Nachman says, look, we have this brisa that doesn't make any sense, right? The brisa itself, says Reuven steals a field from Shimon, then they take it away from Reuven, and then Reuven gets paid back. It makes no sense. So Rav Nachman says, look, even you had to explain how the brisa can make sense. And you said that, well, it's talking about where Reuven stole from Shimon, and Reuven stole from Shimon, sold it to Levi. Says Rav Nachman, once already we're dealing with a brisa that doesn't make sense, so you have to make it make sense. Well, I'll make it make sense by saying it's not talking about goals of an exile, it's talking about the Baal Chov. It's talking about a loan, and that's why we're talking about Shvach Kakos. But by goals of an exile, there wouldn't be Shvach Kakos. Chevra, we could technically stop it here, but I'm not. I'm gonna go weiter, not just a little weiter. I'm going to go a lot weiter. We got another 5-10 lines and Daf Yud Daled Amud Beis. We're going to do until halfway through. Halfway through? More than halfway through. Tesvav Amud Aleph. Chevra, we're pushing. Chevra, our brains are going to be super brains in another half an hour. I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but maybe half an hour. Toshma, Komedir Lachilas Peris Ketzad. Okay, so we just talked about Shvach Kakos. Now we're going to talk about Achilas Peris. Ketzad. Haresha Gozal Soda Mechavero. Reuven steals a field from Shimon. Vareyu Yotz Mitachas Yodo, and it's taken away from Reuven. Again, this is not going to make any sense. When Reuven collects it, Gove as a keren minchas mishubadim, Ufeiris Gove minchas b'nechorin, so he collects the principal amount from minchas mishubadim and the fruits from minchas b'nechorin. Echidami elem kitikatani gazim iman gobi. So what's this talking about? It can't be talking about literally because that makes no sense. Reuven steals from Shimon, and then he loses it, and then of course they take it away from him because it's not his, and then he's collecting. It makes no sense. So elalav rather kigon shegozol soda mechavero. 1 second. Whatever. Reuven steals a field from Shimon. He sells it to Levi. Vishbicha. And it goes up in value. Wait, what? I see. It's a shaila. Oh, okay. It's a shaila. No. Let's do it again. Hechidami, 3 lines before it gets wide. If it's like we said, Gazan Maman Gobi, who's Reuven collecting from? He's the thief. Elav, rather must be Kigon Shagozo Sadim Mechaver. It must be talking about where Reuven stole a field from Shimon, and he sells it to Levi, and then the field got better, and we're saying that what's this Achilas Peres? It means that when it means that when Shimon takes the field away from Levi, because it's Shimon's field, Levi can then collect the Shvach from Reuven. So we see it's a kasha on Shmuel, who says that he cannot collect the Shvach from Reuven, right? Okay, sorry, I had to realign. Meaning because we had mentioned Shvach Karkos a few minutes ago. We wanted to say that was talking about stealing. We said no, that is talking about a Baal Chov. It's talking about a loan. So now we mentioned Achilas Peres. We want to say, okay, fine, maybe Achilas Peres is talking about the whole theft situation that Reuven stole from Shimon, sold it to Levi, then Levi improved the value. Shimon, of course, takes it away from Levi. Levi then goes and claims the Shvach from Reuven. Says Rava, no, that is not what we're talking about. Meaning, and then it would be a kasha on Shmuel who says that Levi cannot collect the Shvach. But no, it's no kasha. Omar Rava, listen up. Rava says, Achav Ma'iskin, and here what are we talking about? Kigon shegozal sode mechavero melea peris. Reuven, there's no Levi over here. We're about to see 3 opinions. The opinion of Rava, the opinion of Rabba bar Rav Huna, and the opinion of Rav Ashi. Rava and Rabba bar Rav Huna are not talking about Levi at all. Rav Ashi mentions Levi. Rava and Rabba bar Rav Huna are not talking about Levi at all. But with Rava and Rabba bar Rav Huna, it's just between Reuven the thief and Shimon the victim. So Omar Rava says, Rava, here, here what are we talking about? Kigon, shegozal soda mechavero. Reuven stole a field from Shimon. Milea peris, and the field was full of fruits. Ve'ochel asa peris, Reuven ate up all of the fruits. Ve'chofer ba boris shichinumayris, and he started digging and excavating in the field. So now Shimon comes to collect. The fruits have been eaten. The field has been messed up. And then comes Shimon to collect from Reuven. Keren gova minchasim mishubadim. So he's going to want to collect the principal. Now he's not taking back the field. The field's messed up. So he gets paid back the value of the field from Reuven's nechasim mishubadim. But nigzal legabis peiris. And when he comes to collect the value of the fruits that were on the field, gov nechasim b'nei chorin, that he collects from nechasim b'nei chorin. So this is not talking about Reuven stealing from Shimon and selling to Levi. It's just between Reuven and Shimon. Reuven stole a field from Shimon. It was filled with fruits. He ate the fruits, ruined the field. Shimon can get paid back the principal amount of the field from Shimon gets paid back the principal amount of the field from Reuven's nechasim shubadim, and the peiris from nechasim b'nei chorin. Rabbi Bar Avuna Omer says, Rabbi Bar Avuna Kegon shenatlu masikin. Reuven stole a field from Shimon, and then these shmendriks come, these masikin that we learned about at the end of Bava Kama with Rav Kahana, that whole story. The masikin come and they take the field from Reuven the Ganif. Okay, and now Shimon obviously wants to get his field back, and as we learned Bava Kama, Reuven's going to be responsible for that. If they took it away from Reuven, they weren't necessarily taken away from like everybody, right? There was a distinction between if they're going around taking away from everybody versus they specifically taken away from Reuven. Reuven needs to pay it back. So Banigzal Lagabis Keren. So now Shimon is getting his money back from Reuven. So the principal of amount of the field he can collect from Reuven's Nechasim Mishubadim, from Reuven's Nechasim Mishubadim. Banigzal Lagabis Peiris. And when Shimon comes to collect the fruits, go from Nechasim B'nei Chorin, that he can collect from Nechasim B'nei Chorin. Again, there's no Levi over here. Rava lo Amar Kiraba by Rav Huna, Rava, who says that it's talking about the Borashich and Umayris stuff, right, that he ruined the field. So he doesn't say like Rabbi by Rav Huna, Harei Yotze Mitachas Yodo Bedina Mashma, that when it says that, because when the Brisa says that it is, I don't know, goes out of Reuven's hands, the implication is in din, like he's not giving back the field, but like, he has to, there's a judgment that he has to pay. So therefore it's talking about where he kind of ruined the field and has to pay money. Rabbi Bar Avuna lo amar kirov, and Rabbi Bar Avuna doesn't say Rav harei yotze mitachas yodo be'eina mashma. Whereas Rabbi Bar Avuna says that, look, when it says that it goes out of Reuven's hands, it means he has to give back the field. So that's what it means, and therefore it is talking about. I assume that it would mean. Okay. I assume what it means, harei yotze mitachas yodo, meaning like these robbers and stuff took it from Reuven, but they took it, I think the point is in its proper state, they didn't do anything to it. So therefore, that's why he doesn't say like Rava, who says that like he had like built pits, ditches, and vaults. All right, fine. Rav Ashi, Omar says Rav Ashi, let's start in Katani. Actually, you have to kind of break up the Brisa and teach in the following way. So Reuven steals a field from Shimon, and the field is filled with fruits. And Reuven ate he ate the fruits. And he sold the field to Levi. Okay, so the fruits are being claimed from Reuven, and Reuven ate the fruits, then sold the field to Levi. Now Shimon, of course, goes to Levi to get back his field. Okay. So now Balokeach Ligabis Keren. So now so Shimon took back his field. Okay. Now Levi comes to Reuven to collect the $1,000 that he paid for the field. So go from Nechasim Mishubadim. So that can be collected from Reuven's Nechasim Mishubadim. But Nigzol Ligabis Peiris. And when Shimon then goes to Reuven and say, by the way, Reuven, you ate my fruits. So then go from Nechasim B'nei Chorin, that can be collected from Nechasim B'nei Chorin, but there's nothing to do here about Reuven having to pay Levi for Shvach Karkos, right? That is not what we're talking about, and therefore there's no kasha on Shmuel. Ben Liravit, Ben Liraba, by Rav Huna, Milve al pehu, umilve al pe eno gove min chosim me shu bodim. Gewaldig. Givaldig. Now here's the thing. Both according to Rave and according to Rabbi Rav Huna, Ruvain is dealing directly with Shimon. The Gazlan and the Nigzal are dealing directly with each other. Now, obviously, there were no contracts, right? Ruvain stole Shimon's field, and he's going back to Ruvain to get it back. So, obviously, there was no contracts there. Nobody wrote anything down. So, it's be'etzim a milva al peh. Kilu, Ruvain has something that belongs to Shimon. He's got to pay it back to Shimon. A milva al peh is not collected from nechasim shubadim. So, why are we saying that the principal amount is paid back from nechasim shubadim? Again, bein l'Rava, bein l'Rava by Rav Huna, both according to Rava and Rava by Rav Huna, this is sort of the case, I guess, is happening between Reuven and Shimon, the thief and the thiefee. So milva al pehu, it is a verbal loan be'etzem, right? Nothing was written down. Umilva al peh einu gov min nechasim mishubadim. And a verbal loan cannot be collected from nechasim mishubadim. So why are we talking about Shimon getting paid back from nechasim mishubadim? So achav ma'iskin here, what are we talking about? Kisha amad badin v'hader zabin. Here we're talking about where Shimon had taken Reuven to court. Okay, so let's just say according to I don't know, it doesn't matter really according to who, right? Reuven had stolen the field from Shimon. Shimon had taken Reuven to court. The court had said, okay, Reuven, you need to pay Shimon. At that point, Reuven then sold his field to Levi. So at that point, when, if Reuven sells his field to Levi, after he already had to pay back Shimon, right? Reuven sells the field to Levi after he already had to pay back Shimon. So then, Shimon can definitely collect from nechasim mishubadin. So again, Achav Ma'askina here, what are we talking about? K'sha'amar badin, Shimon had already taken Reuven to Bezdin, and Bezdin had told Reuven that he has to pay Shimon. V'hadar zavin, Reuven then sold a field to Levi, and therefore Shimon can collect from nechasim mishubadim. If that's the case, Peiris Nami. Well, if that's the case, then why are we saying that only the principal amount can be paid from Reuven's nechasim mishubadim? Even the fruits, right? Because I assume Shimon, meaning the assumption is that Shimon went to court, took Reuven to court for the whole thing. He goes to court and he says, look, Reuven stole my field that was full of fruits. And the court says, okay, Reuven, you have to pay back the value of the field and the fruits. And at that point, he sells a field to Levi. So then the entire amount should be able to be collected from the nechasim mishubadim, not just the principal, but the principal and the fruits. So kshamad badin, father zavin. Where am I? Yehochi peris nami. So kshamad badin ala keren velo amad badin al haperis. Well, it's talking about where Shimon took Reuven to court for the field, for the principal amount, but not for the fruits. Umay psaka. Why are you assuming that Shimon only took Reuven to court for the field, but not for the fruits? Well, because, the way it goes is that if Shimon is going to take, Reuven stole Shimon's field. So the first thing that Shimon needs to do is get back his field. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Once Shimon gets back his field, and then he can worry about the fruits. And therefore, so that's what happened here. So Shimon had initially taken Reuven to court and said, look, I need to get my field back. Bezdin says, okay, paying back the value of his field. At that point, he sells it to Levi. So therefore, the principal is going to be collected from. So specifically, what they went to court about was the principal, at least at this point. V'sover Shmuel lokeach migazlan leis le shvacha. But 1 second, does Shmuel really hold that in this scenario where Reuven steals a field from Shimon and sells it to Levi, and Levi increases the value of the field from $1,000 to $1,200. Shimon then takes the field back from Levi. Does Shmuel really say that Levi can only claim the principal from Reuven, but not the shvach? V'sover Shmuel lokeach migazlon leis le shvacha. Does Shmuel really hold that Levi cannot claim the shvach? V'ha amar le Shmuel l'Rav Chinina bar Shilas. But Shmuel said to Rav Chinina bar Shilas, who was a scribe, Amlich uchsov shufra shvacha ufeire. That what shufra shvacha ufeire? What were the differences between those three things? Well, my brain is like turning to like next level mush, but mamish like we're almost done. So reading that again. So shufra, of course, is a reference to edis, right? Meaning, Shmuel says to the scribe, or let's call him the lawyer who like writes up contracts. So consult with your client. Does he want to accept the achrayis of shufra? So first of all, are you going to pay back from your best fields, from your edis, from your benonis? Shvacha, are you going to include the increased value of the field? So shvach. Uferi, as well as fruits. But mayim, what are we talking about? Ibe balchov, we can't be talking about by a loan, because mi'isle pere, is there fruits when it comes to loan? As we said earlier, V'amar Shmuel says, balchov goves hashvach. That a balchov, when he collects a field, right, if Shimon lent Reuven money, now Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven, now he's collecting from Levi the field, he can only collect from the increased value, but not from the peiros. Right? Balchov goves hashvach. Shvach in, aval peiros though, he can't collect the peiros. So if we're talking about peiros, elav belokeach migazlan. So rather we must be talking about where Reuven sold a field to Shimon. What? Where Reuven stole a field from Shimon, sold it to Levi. And we're saying that, and we're saying that it can include even the shvach. So Rav Yosef says, Rav Yosef, achov ma'iskin kagon sheyesh lo karke. Well, it's talking about where he has property. Because remember, Shmuel's whole thing, as explained by Rav Nachman, was that the concern is that if Reuven steals a field from Shimon, sells it to Levi, because Reuven never actually owned the field, so when Shimon takes the field away from Levi, and then Levi claims from Reuven not just the field but the shvach, so it's be'etzem, Levi had given Reuven $1,000, and he's getting back $1,200. So it's like it's interest. So says Rav Yosef, well, if Reuven would be paying back Levi not in money but in property, so then remember, we didn't say we're going to learn all about ribis. I don't know much about ribis. We're going to learn all about ribis in about 2 months from now in Perek Ezu and Eshech. That's very exciting stuff. I have a feeling it's going to be quite difficult. But anyways, it sounds like we're not saying it's actual ribis, but it looks like ribis, and we're saying that if he's paying it back with property, then it doesn't really look like a ribis, and that is okay. Okay, so because he's paying it back with property, then Reuven would be able to, or let's say Levi would be able to claim the shvach, the increased value, so long as he's being paid back from property, not with money. But 1 second, is it possible to borrow a sa'ah of wheat to be paid back with a sa'ah of wheat if you're paying back with property? Meaning, if Shimon lends Reuven a sa'ah of wheat, and a sa'ah of wheat at that time is $1, it's going to be a problem if Reuven returns that sa'ah of wheat at a later point, but at that point the sa'ah is worth $2. Then that's a concern of interest. But what if Reuven is not paying him back with a sa'ah of wheat? What if he's paying back with $2 worth of property? Does that become okay? Amalei Rav Yosef says, well, that is a loan. Here we're not talking about a loan. Here we're talking about where Reuven supposedly sold it. He didn't lend Shimon Levi the field. He had sold the field. Wow, like my words are getting jumbled. Reuven had quote unquote, sold a field to Levi. Technically, we're concerned that it looks like ribis because since Reuven had stolen the field from Shimon, it wasn't technically his. So we're concerned that it's like Levi's giving $1,000, getting back $1,200. So it's mekach umimkar. It's not a halva. And so the fact that it's mekach umimkar and it's being paid back with karka, so therefore it's not really like ribis at this point. Ikadam, those who say Rav Yosef says Rav Yosef achav ma'eskinu kigon shekanu miyadu. The Rav Yosef says, well, they had initially made a kinyan. So meaning it wasn't that Reuven had stolen a field from Shimon and then sold it to Levi. Shimon then goes and takes it back from Levi. Levi then goes to Reuven and says, "Hey, what the heck, man?" And then Reuven is paying back Levi $1,200 now. In which case, it's like, well, Levi gave him $1,000, he's getting back $1,200. What actually happened is that Reuben sold a field from Shimon, sold it to Levi, and when he sold it to Levi, he had committed at that point in time that if anything happens, then he will even commit now to paying back the shvachim, because he made a kinyan on that. That is why it's okay. It's not like he's Levi's giving $1,000 and then claiming $1,200. Already in Milchatchila, there was this commitment. Abai says to Yosef, what is Shimon allowed to lend Reuven a saw in return for a saw, which might end up being ribis? But if they make a kinyan at the beginning, is that allowed? Rav Yosef says, yeah, but that was a loan. Here we're talking about a sale, and therefore that makes it okay, and this kinyan would make it acceptable. Chevra, we're going to stop here. Wow, where did we start? We're starting off, okay. Holy shnikes. Bye.